Ernesto, what do we do with the next crisis?
No, I want to say more than that.
I know.
And I will not say anything about that. No, I want to go back first to Boris' point, where he shows his central bank bias. Well, I was also a central banker and then was on the other side of macro policy. But I think, Boris, it's very hard to think that we would have had the kind of crisis that we had, which of course in its most acute phase originated in the subprime market in the United States. Silly people buying these securities thinking that they were really AAA and also European banks. But I think that would have not happened if we hadn't had the kind of macroeconomic imbalances that we had up to 2006, 2007. The U.S. having a current account deficit of 6%, more than 6% of GDP, having, of course, a significant change in the fiscal position in a few years from a surplus of almost 2% to a deficit of 4% of GDP. The Chinese having huge surplus, and other countries like Japan or like Germany. So you had a situation in which too much liquidity chasing too few good opportunities for invest, particularly in the United States. And that, given the regulatory environment that they had, particularly regarding the housing market and also these kinds of securities, well, I think that was good part of the problem. But it's hard to think that without those macroeconomic imbalances, we would have had the kind of crisis that we have gone through. But in any case, I think this debate is a little bit useless. I think the question is, if we want to avoid something like this in the future, well, we need to have better macroeconomic balances. We need to have not only better domestic financial regulations, but some degree of harmonization. And we will never have, or not in the foreseeable future, perfect harmonization, but we need something like that. Otherwise, we will see nasty races to the bottom, and that will be also a disaster. Padma, well, it's more about avoiding that those institutions that really manage the payment system to play casino. I don't know whether you achieve that by segregating investment banking operations from the commercial banks. But what you don't want is commercial banks, which are the ones responsible to manage and operate the payments system, to take the kind of risks that they took in the recent crisis. Do you need to segregate investment banking, or you need to have a comprehensive system of Pigouvian taxes, let us call it like that, that makes this high-risk taking behavior to be moderated? I don't know the answer, but if we don't do that, particularly given the tremendous moral hazard, and I don't think ever in history we have seen so much incentive to misbehave for financial institutions as we have today. Because the rescue that they were given over the last 2 years is really an atomic bomb about to explode. The incentive to go crazy again is bigger than ever. And if you don't believe me, just look around, read the Financial Times, read the Economist, and tell me how many bubbles are already emerging in the world as we speak. Why did the Brazilians only 2 or 3 months ago introduce some sort of Tobin tax? Why the Mexican stock market today has a level that would be consistent with a Dow Jones of 17,000 points. I mean, that is ridiculous. An economy which fell 7% last year is having a stock market record that is not consistent. Why housing prices in China are like that? And I can give you so many examples. We have, again, many bubbles. And if we don't realize that and act rather quickly, well, we will be taking a lot of pain rather sooner than later.
Okay. Thank you. Ernesto François wants to have a 1 minute for the carbon tax.
No, but...
Yes, I didn't say anything about the carbon tax, and I think it is important. This is the other atomic bomb, which is around.
A very atomic bomb.
Is the climate change.
Sure.
Now, the point about this is that it is possible to have a carbon tax even in poor countries and to compensate poor people for the tax. I mean, if you look at the standard consumer model, you tax on the one hand, you give a lump sum transfer on the other. If the tax is marginal, the change in welfare is zero. Now, of course, you won't do that. I mean, it is difficult to do lump sum transfers, but you can do some redistribution with the proceeds of the carbon tax. So this is a kind of mechanism that must be developed, and it is, from that point of view, absolutely possible to have carbon taxes in poor countries.
Okay, so thank you. Before finishing, let me thank all of you. Let me thank to Sergi, EI, our partners here, because without their instrumental support, it would have been impossible to do this event. Let me also hope to see you again next year in Colombia when we take this discussion forward with dealing with the issues of development finance at the 12th Annual Global Development Conference in 2011 in Bogotá, República de Colombia. So thank you very much for being here, and thank you to the panelists. It was a great session. Thank you. Thank you.